Thank you so much for logging on to the official website of NC State Athletics, gopack.com. And now it's time for Around the Bases with Wolfpack head baseball coach Elliot Avent. I'm Tony Haynes. As usual, we are taping at the Backyard Bistro on Trinity Road in Raleigh, and we have a good crowd here today for lunchtime. See? Just want to let you know it's not just the two of us sitting up here, because that's all you can see as you're watching right now on gopack.com. But we're here to talk about NC State baseball. Wolfpack had a good weekend, really a good week. The Pack won 2 of 3 from Miami at the Doak and went 4-1 over the course of the week. State now has improved its record to 12-9 overall, 3-3 in the ACC. No rest for the weary, though, because Campbell comes in for a 6 p.m. game on Tuesday. And then the top-ranked team in the country, the Louisville Cardinals, unbeaten, will be here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's going to be very exciting. And Coach Elliot Avent, your team has played 10 games in 14 days. Who made up the schedule?
Dave Modern.
Okay. Who's responsible for scheduling here? Because I mean, there's a fine line. You want to play some games.
You want to play games
you also
early.
want to practice.
You want to play
a
lot. You want to practice early because that's how you get good. And the practice time is limited because we start so soon. But you got to play a lot of games early. We had a lot of young pitching that we thought we needed some work. We didn't know they wouldn't get the work they have gotten so far with some of the things with the older pitchers. But you try to get people in there and playing time and get guys tested and figure this thing out. And you want to play a lot early, which is taxing, and it's taking a toll on us. And then you try to scale it down late because the ACC is just unbearable. As you mentioned, Louisville, number 1 in the country. I think 2 weeks ago, Florida State was number 1 in the country. And so when ACC time comes, you can't handle more than one midweek game.
Yeah, last time we were here a few weeks ago, you were talking about the fact that some guys on your team, they were fighting the game. The game is such a tough game. You can't fight the game because the game is always going to win. Now, last week, you go 4-1, including the 2 out of 3 over the Miami Hurricanes. You feel like your ball club is now starting to make some strides?
We made a stride. We made baby steps. You know what I'm saying? We're still fighting the game. We're still fighting the game, and you got to let the game come to you, and that's so hard to do, especially for a lot of these guys. This is their draft year. And, you know, we've gone through it on a higher level with Trey Turner, Carlos Rodon, Brett Austin. But, you know, Jake Fincher and Logan Ratledge and Logan Jernigan and all those guys, they go through the same thing. Travis Orwig. Everybody has their junior year, the pressure and the illumination of the Major League Draft. And every game we go to, most practices, there's at least 10 to 12 scouts in the stands, no less than 2 or 3 at every practice. And these guys are getting graded. And they try to handle it. You know, we talk to them. They talk to former players. We got 2 great people on our staff right now, Kurt Britt and Joey Devine, who went through it recently. And but whether you're getting advice and whether you're trying to handle it the best you can, it's still there. And it's an annoyance, and it's been a little bit of an issue.
So what you're saying, they're pressing. They're trying too hard.
Absolutely.
But you can't do it on the golf course. You certainly can't do it in baseball, especially if you're swinging the bat.
It's like the golf course. Well, you ever play golf when you're making all the putts?
No, not me.
Well,
but
if you could picture, like with Tiger, we just had Tiger up on the screen. When Tiger was ruling professional golf, and he was being compared to the greatest of all time, maybe the greatest of all time, there were times when a 20-footer to Tiger looked like a tap-in. You know what I'm saying? And there's times now, as golf has eluded him a little bit, there's probably times now when a 2-footer looks like a 30-footer to him. And it's a confidence level with everybody. And the more the confidence isn't there, the more you fight it and press and things. Sometimes they can spiral. But we did make baby steps. We played good. We beat a good Miami team that has probably had our number through the years. We had the great win in Durham a couple years ago with Preston Palmero with the walk-off, inside the Parker. But it's been a great series of Miami. I remember 2003, Joey Devine reminding me in 2003, we had them beat not once. We had them beat twice at their place, 2 out of 3 to go to the College World Series. We had them beat twice, and somehow they pull it off and go to the College World Series instead of us. So it's not the rivalry of sorts in this area, State Miami, but for us it's kind of an intense series. So to win 2 out of 3 was good.
I'm sure you talked with Coach Morris over the weekend. You guys do that before the games and after the games. What's going on with them? I mean, they have a lot of quality players back from the club that they had last season, which was pretty good.
He can't figure it out. He and I talked a lot this weekend. We're good friends. He's in the final 2 years. I think he told me he just turned 67, so next year is going to be his last year in college baseball. He's announcing his retirement. He's going to coach next year and have that year. He's really disappointed because we're not going to play each other next year, and we become really good friends. He's a Hall of Famer. He's done so much for this game, so much for this league, and he just says they're fighting it a little bit too, but it's a long season, and both of us got to get a little better.
But you win the series on Saturday, so you take the games on Friday and Saturday. So you know you're going to win the series, and the goal in the ACC every weekend, you do that, you're going to be sitting pretty. But then after you do that, do you get a little greedy, and does it become a bit of a downer when you can't finish off the sweep?
It was a real downer. I stayed probably at the ballpark last night. I was so down that I just stayed at the ballpark and just didn't want to leave. Sometimes you don't want to leave because you're elated. Last night I was just really, really down. I thought we were going to sweep them. Some things happened, and we got off to a great start. Joe Denan, 2-run homer, 2-0. At that point, I thought we might just really, roll a little bit. And some things happened, and next thing you know, we lose that game. So it was a tough night for me. And then to make myself feel a little bit better, I turned Wes's game on, and, we're getting ready to beat Texas. And then when that debacle happened, then I just sat there for another hour and a half at the stadium and just couldn't leave. So it was a tough day, but 2 out of 3 against Miami is good.
I'm glad you've recovered today. That's good.
A little bit.
You're allowed to suffer maybe one night, and then you got to move on.
Sun comes up every morning, and no matter what your problems are, you got to make it good. And we got to get better, and I know that. But we started working on that early this morning in the office.
There is a tangible pattern though with your teams. February and March, you might struggle a little bit. You're evaluating it. You're kind of tweaking, trying to figure things out, and then the weather warms up. By the middle of April, May, NC State is playing good baseball. Everybody's talking about how good the Wolfpack is. Are you still in that process of evaluating and tweaking? What's kind of your objective right now?
Well, it's just I think part of it is getting people healthy. We've played the first part of our season, which you talked about a while ago. We played the first part of our season without our first 2 starters, and Cody Beckman and Brian Brown, Brian Brown was the ace the last 2 years, and we played pretty much practically without them, and to see Brian Brown come out and do what he did Saturday, well, what a shot in the arm that was for everybody. And then the rain comes, and I was no way I was going to send him back out there, but he did pitch 3 innings. He looked really, really good, so that's encouraging. Then Cody Beckman came in relief against Miami, and on Saturday he was really, really good. So that's 2 encouraging signs. But we need to get Johnny Piedmont back, need to get Corey Wilder going, and there's some things we got to do if we're going to be able to survive in this league.
Yeah, Brownie, as you said, 3 innings pitched and 3 strikeouts, only 1 base hit through 43 pitches, and then the weather came in. But with a guy like him who started the season injured with some tenderness, do you have to be a little bit more careful with him at this stage?
There's no question. We're more careful with him. We're more careful with Johnny Piedmont and Corey Wilder. Joe O'Donnell even. Joe O'Donnell's pitching lights out right now, but he's coming off an injury that ended his season last year. And you manage it the best you can. Science, medicine, they always say, is not an exact science. And obviously, Dr. Weicker can't even tell me for sure what we're going to do with these guys, and he's the best I've ever seen. And, so you can't look into somebody's body and figure out what to do. You kind of look in their eyes and figure out maybe how they feel. And that's how we're managing it right now. But we got a great strength and conditioning staff from Gabe Button, who does an incredible job. And Anthony Sanderson is in the mold of all the trainers I've had here, and they've all been phenomenal, from Ryan Holloman to whoever. And Anthony Sanderson is as good as we've ever had. And so he does such a good job. And like I said, Dr. Weicker, our team doctors, it gives you the satisfaction that we're going to get through this.
Joe O'Donnell is looking like Joe O'Donnell again, as you said. Right now, 3-0, 1.50 ERA. He's certainly dealing. But do you as a coach, and you and both Coach Foxhall, as much as you'd like to stretch him out a little bit because you see how well he's pitching, do you have to have a little discipline on that?
You can't do it. I'd love to, the reason we took him out Friday night, and because I want to bring him back Sunday. He would have continued Friday night, and in the old days come back Sunday, but I knew if he went one morning Friday night, we'd lose him for the weekend. So I took him out, and Miami comes in and ties the game up, but our guys they're getting a little bit resilient. They're starting to understand some things, and they were able to battle back. And and win. But that's the kind of things we're having to do right now, managing the staff.
When you got this thing together, getting ready for the season, though, Joe O'Donnell, you had no idea what you're going to get from him,
Well,
right?
no, because he's coming off an injury. And when a guy comes off an injury, him, Corey Wilder, Johnny Piedmont, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's always a big question mark. You mentioned winning some tough ball games on Friday and Saturday. It's one thing to win a game 8-1 or whatever. Those games were tough games. They're in doubt coming down the stretch. You got to do a lot of things right to win. You got to play defense. If need be, get a bunt down. Certainly, the back end of your bullpen's got to perform. Is that what made you most proud? Maybe those two ball games, the way your team got in front, and then they made the plays to finish those games.
Absolutely, and we got a great defensive team, but the uncharacteristic thing is Friday and Sunday we didn't play defense, and we got a great defensive ball club. And the winds were howling a little bit. There was some, it was cold. I understand that, but we haven't played a colder game than one we played Tuesday at Elon, except the one at Boston College a few years ago, which was incredibly miserable. I'm glad you didn't make that trip because that was incredibly miserable. But but these guys have shown a little bit of resiliency, and they've been in these situations now. They're starting to figure their way out of it. And I sat there Sunday thinking the whole time we're going to win Sunday's game, even down 7-2. The whole team believed it. Dugout was electric Sunday. And it's really funny. When Brad Debo hits that ball Sunday, we got the leadoff guy on an error, which is uncharacteristic of Miami. They played such great defense. And then so naturally, Miami's going to go in no doubles defense in the outfield. For some reason, the left fielder didn't get the message. He didn't do it. So he shoestrings a line drive by Brad Debo. If he'd been in no doubles, he doesn't catch. And then he catches Brock's over his head, tip of his glove. And it's just kind of, I felt like we were always going to win that game, but the big thing is our dugout felt like they were going to win that game Sunday.
The other thing you noticed the last week or two, if you walk outside, there are a lot of bad hair days because the wind's really blowing. Of course, that doesn't affect us.
Because we got no hair.
Yeah, that's right. There are positives of not having hair. You don't have every day, I guess, is a bad hair. That's right, because there's no hair. But I've been thinking about that. How about the wind out there the last couple of weeks, and how that's affected the game? Has it?
Wind changes it. Wind changes things more than temperature. Mm-hmm. Wind at a baseball game just doesn't belong, and it's certainly has changed our games. And the way it blew last week, just thank goodness everybody saw that terrible fire downtown Raleigh. I guess it was, I don't know if it was Thursday night or whatever, but just thank goodness the wind wasn't blowing that night. That could have been more of a disaster than it was.
All right, let's look at Friday night. Sean Adler comes out, and here's the good. 2 hits, a run, 6 strikeouts. Pretty good while he was out there. Flip side, 5 walks, and he threw 90 pitches in 4 2/3 innings. Do you really have something to work with, though, there with Adler, if he can become just a little bit more efficient?
Yeah, and he knows that. Saturday I met him in the workout room over at WB. He was getting his lift in after the game on Friday night with Gabe Button, and I went over and talked to him. It was his birthday. I think Friday was his birthday. Yesterday was Michael Beanline. So I was sitting there talking to him, and he knows how good he can be, and he knows they're hitting like 230 against him. Mm-hmm. But walking 5 guys a game, not only you can't win in this league walking 5 guys a game, but it gives them the opportunity to see you more and feel more comfortable with you, so they're going to hit you better. So he knows he's working toward that, but right now he's giving us some good outings.
There's a moment of truth coming out on Friday night, though, near the end of the game. Top of the 8th, Miami scores a couple of runs, and Staley's on the mound. You stay with him, and then you let him finish up in the 9th inning. Is that a sure sign that he's earned a lot of trust from you and Coach Foxhall?
Staley has been unbelievable out of the bullpen. He's been terrific. We think Miami had his pitches, actually, on the home run, the 2 home runs that were hit. Miami has a great way of detecting what pitch you're going to throw, and they're very good at it. And everybody in the league works toward that, but they're very good at it, always have been. And I think they had his pitches, and we made some adjustments for when he came back out on Saturday. But he's been our horse out of the bullpen. He's done an incredible job. He has great confidence in himself. The big thing is the guys out there playing. That's who they want out there. So,
Cody Beckman, you mentioned his name earlier. Of course, he was injured early in the season, working his way back. 2 1/3 fairly effective innings in that ball game on Saturday. How important is it going to be for him to turn the corner? And right now, is he pretty much just in spring training? Is that where he is right now?
Yeah, he's back to spring training, and you worry about his hand. I mean, he came off a broken hand. I mean, that's not easy to do, and he's doing it in 4 weeks. And so there's still some stiffness in his hand. He works it out, every day. And Anthony does a great job in trying to get better. But I thought he threw incredibly well considering where he was coming from. But he's still in spring training mode now. But to have him back, he gave me a big hug yesterday. He's so happy to be back, and I told him it's good for us to have him back as well.
You hugged him back too.
Oh,
you're probably
hard.
You're probably just as happy to have him back as he is.
Oh, yeah.
We're with Elliot Avent. This is Around the Bases. Good to have you with us. We're taping from Backyard Bistro here on this Monday afternoon. Stay with us. More of the coach when we return. Coach Elliot Avent excited. He just heard that his teriyaki wings are on the way here at Backyard Bistro. In fact, Coach was fidgeting when he walked in today because they lost the game against Miami on Sunday. And then once his wings didn't show up on time, he was a little bit more concerned about that. But there they are.
If you hadn't had them
beautiful
if you hadn't had them come
teriyaki wings here at Backyard Bistro.
I'm an expert on chicken, and this is as good as I've ever had. Trust me.
Well, you went to that chicken, and what was that chicken place in Atlanta last year?
Gladys Knight's chicken and waffles. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
He likes his chicken and baseball.
I eat there every day, every year we go to Atlanta.
Believe it or not, we are going to talk about NC State baseball. Right. The Wolfpack is going to host Campbell at 6 p.m. Doak Field at Dale Park coming up on Tuesday. And then the number one team in the country, Louisville, visits the Doak this weekend. Friday night at 6 p.m. 6:30 p.m. I think Friday night. The Saturday game is a 1 o'clock game because it's going to be televised. Yep, and then a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. So, boy, it's going to be an exciting weekend with Brendan McKay and the number one team in the country coming into. Well, it's exciting for fans. I don't know if it's exciting for you.
No.
We'll find out. You'll learn how good you are when you go up against those guys. But State is playing better after winning 4 out of 5 games last week. Evan Mendoza was so good in the second half of the season last year. He was so hot, became your top hitter average-wise, one of the best hitters in the league, played a great third base. He's gotten off to a slow start. Maybe it's that junioritis you were talking about, but he's batted .352 over his last 4 games. He had a pretty good week. Is he starting to turn the corner?
He's showing better signs. I mean, we hit every day in cages. We hit every day. They're probably hitting today. I told them not to come to the field today. We've had, like you mentioned, 10 games in 14 days. And they have school, a lot of school, and they're lifting. So it takes a toll on their body. It takes a toll on their mind. I mean, sometimes you're more drained mentally than you are physically, and usually at their age you are. So, I told them not to show up today. And as of this, when I came over here, nobody's shown up all day. Of course, they're in class this morning, but I'll go back to the office. They need to get away, but he's hitting a lot, and he's showing signs of getting there. But it's always hard to take it from the batting cage to the game, and that's where we're at now. And but he's still highly respected in this league, and he's still going to come around. And when he starts hitting better, it's going to help the ball club quite a bit.
Yeah, one thing I remember about him last year when he was hot, he was hitting to all fields. He'd find holes. He'd hit the ball up the middle.
Absolutely.
He'd hit the ball to right field. If he got a pitch on the inner part of the plate, he could pull it and crush it that way. And more often than not, you're going to be a more effective hitter when you use all the fields like that. Is he one of those guys that was in that pull-happy mode earlier in the season?
Well, sometimes the scouts meet with all these guys in the fall. Every major league club met with Evan Mendoza, Joe Danan, Steve Patera, you name it. They met with every player we had just about that was draft eligible. And they may not say it, but somewhere these guys get in their head, if I can hit with a little more power, because Major League Baseball will tell you they have trouble finding power. So they made me think if I hit with a little more power, I can go from like a 10th round pick to a 5th round pick or a 5th round pick to a 3rd round pick. And everybody wants to get drafted as high as you can because the higher you get drafted, obviously the more invested in you, the more the club's going to stick with you. So it sticks in their head. And I think necessarily he tried to get the ball in the ballpark a little more, and I think it changed the swing a little bit. And maybe he did it subconsciously, but whatever, but it's there.
One guy who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and he's certainly done it this year. Again, yesterday, a 2-run homer, Joe Danan. And he's got 6 home runs right now to go along with a 240 average. I know you'd probably want him to have a little bit higher average and a few more RBIs. He's got 13, but he does have 6 homers. And I looked at that and compared it to his number of at-bats. He's hitting a home run every 12.5 at-bats, which is
pretty good.
Really good ratio.
Sounds like his uncle.
Yeah, in the big leagues, that's a Hall of Fame ratio if you do that. How are teams trying to pitch Joe Danan? And when you see numbers like that, is that just a case of him doing a pretty good job of taking advantage of mistakes when he gets a mistake pitch?
Yeah, he does. And they pitch him very tough. Obviously, he's dangerous. He has a reputation. and they had that stat too. And so they try to throw him fastballs way in, and that'll kind of get you off the plate a little bit to get you looking in. Then they throw him a lot of sliders. And so they pitch him to hit the ball the other way, not to pull the ball, because when he pulls it, dangerous things can happen.
Sounds like his uncle later in the career, because everybody thought Alex got a little older. Bat speed slowed down. Now, Joe's bat speed is not slowing down yet. He's such a young guy, but they would pitch A-Rod in with fastballs. They didn't think he could get the barrel to it. And
right.
That's kind of a typical pattern, especially with a power hitter. How about Josh McClain? 372, leads the team with 10 doubles, 7 for 7 on stolen bases. Have you found your leadoff hitter?
Not only have we found our leadoff hitter, we found our leader. I mean, this guy has been incredible. The things he says in the dugout, everything about Josh McClain is he's in the prototypical mold of all the leaders we've had in the past. He is unbelievable, and he's doing this, on an ankle that he probably shouldn't be playing on. I've tried to get him out of several games, but you look up and it's 5'3" or 6'4", and you're not going to take him out. He's so good in center field. But if you watch him run now, he still runs it down, not quite the way he was. His ankle's bothering him. And every night after every game, he's in this boot that's extremely painful, he says, with the coldness of it and just trying to get that swelling down. But he's been it's not enough things you can say about Josh McClain, what he means to our ball club right now.
Brad Debo and Will Wilson, is it possible that they have even exceeded expectations for young guys?
Talked to Brad Debo this morning. He came by the stadium real quick, not to hit, just to stop by and get something. He hadn't caught as much as he was catching early, he and Jack Conley, because we inserted, Cosgrove in the lineup, and he's been incredible. But I told Brad he went in to pinch hit for Cosgrove yesterday. He got 2 at-bats. Matter of fact, the last one was a rocket to left field that I actually thought when he hit that, here we go. And he came in and caught the last 2 innings, did a great job. And, boy, what a player he is, what a kid he is. Local kid. He loves being here, and he just lights up the whole room.
Yeah, and he's lighting it up, too. Right now he's batting .327 for NC State. He's got 12 RBIs, so Brad Debo. And we've talked about Will Wilson a lot, and what a terrific freshman season he's having. And, football and basketball, especially basketball, they always say this about a freshman in basketball. You start the season as a freshman, but by the end of the season, you shouldn't be a freshman anymore.
Right.
Is it kind of the work the same way in your game?
You get the at-bats, so you don't have the butterflies, you don't have the nervousness, you don't have the feeling of, do I belong here? You don't have that anymore, but you're still a freshman, And but he's been in some tough spots for us. I've hit him in the 4-hole, 2-hole, pretty much settled into the 2-hole now. But Will Wilson's been incredible for us, as you mentioned, Brad Debo. And we got freshman Beanline pitching great right now. Gauthier was pitching good early, the kid from Canada. We have some freshmen that have played some big roles for us. Kid Kleiman wasn't good yesterday, but has been very good for us on the mound. So we got some freshmen that have done some good things in this league, and it certainly bodes for a good future.
All right, let's talk about what's coming up this week. I know you got a lot of respect for the Campbell program, and NC State and Campbell have played some good games over the years, and Campbell will be here. The Camels will be here Tuesday for the 6 o'clock game at Doak Field at Dale Park. But then you get a chance to go up against the number 1 team in the country. Louisville beat Boston College on Sunday. The Cardinals are 19-0 this season, longest winning streak in school history. They are ranked number 1. Very good last year. They've got it going. That program is pretty strong up there right now. What's most impressive about their club?
Just everything. I mean, I hadn't had a chance to look at them yet, but I know who they are. And, Dan McDonald's done such a good job there. He is really just – it's been incredible, the resources he has there, the stadium there. He's done an incredible job. He and his staff, Roger Williams, who used to be in North Carolina, the pitching coach, they've just done such a great job. But it's, Brendan McKay. I coached him on Team USA a couple summers ago, and he was a freshman then. That kid is not only unbelievable on the mound, he's extremely difficult to hit, but he's a great hitter. I think he's hitting like 600 now, isn't he? Last I checked. I'll text him today and tell him to cool things off a little bit this weekend. But he's an incredible person, but he's a great baseball player and certainly one of the top players. And I would say right now the leading candidate for Player of the Year in the nation.
Player of the Year, and I don't know, the way he's going, he may be compared to some of the greatest players ever in college baseball. What he's doing is a two-way player. It's like Babe Ruthian type of said. There was a time when Babe Ruth, people forget, he was also the best pitcher in the game before he became a slugger with the Yankees. And Brendan McKay, look at these numbers. He's batting .482, 4 homers. That's as usually, I think, a DH, and he plays first base.
First
I believe
base,
sometimes,
plays first
when
base,
he's not pitching. But he pitches on Friday as their Friday starter. He's 4-0 with a 0.36 ERA. That is a 0.3. There's a 0. His ERA starts with a 0. 41 strikeouts in 25 innings pitched. Now, you said you coached him and you've gone up against him. What makes a guy like that tick to excel at this level and be so much better than everybody else?
He's really a strong guy. He's a strong-bodied guy, but he pounds the zone. He can pound the zone. He throws 3 pitches for strikes, and he has a tremendous amount of confidence, and he keeps everything down. He doesn't have a flaw. I mean, when we had him 2 summers ago on the USA team as a freshman, he was just so incredible, and I don't know. He just and he's a good kid, and he's surrounded by great talent. So, I mean, they got it going right now, but a 0.36 ERA. The last time I heard of those numbers was kind of like Bob Gibson when remember when they had to lower the mound. You know what I'm saying? Because of Bob Gibson and people like that in the league, his ERA was kind of like that.
Down there below 1. I mean, I'm thinking all the low ERA. Ron Guidry one year was, I don't know,
Sandy Koufax. I mean, come on, it's just.
I don't think I remember seeing 0.36. So
no.
Maybe you guys will get it jacked up a little bit more on Friday. Well, you have given a winning performance, and your trophy sits here on this plate. There you go. Time to eat the wings. Thank you for tuning in to Around the Bases, and we'll be back here on April 3rd. That's a Monday. Please make plans to join us for lunch, or you can watch right here on GoPack.com. For the coach, I'm Tony Haynes. See you soon.